Hello world. Welcome to the OnlyFillers podcast, the Captain Marvel to your Infinity Saga. I'm LDJ, and with me always is Steve, aka Sabusa TV, aka the Latin Black Adam. What's up, fish?
Like the Colombian Bean Diesel.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Not much going on. A little bit early today, which I didn't expect is going to be this hard because for some reason it's cold today, and you don't want to get out of bed when it's like that. But
Yeah,
well,
it's cold here too. It's like -2, but we have heating, so it's good. It doesn't feel like that bad. I don't have even socks. Did you like the intro?
yeah. I was guessing that was the surprise. They don't make movies like that anymore. And God, I just it feels nostalgic to see all those clips from I if I think I got them all right, decent movies at
Mm-hmm.
least. But because we're gonna get into that today, but I don't know. Things keep changing and not for the better. If things can go wrong, they have proved that, and my guess is that they're gonna get worse as we move on. But we'll see about that.
So it's nice, right? It's like a little play because it's like a nostalgia to see all those clips of some of the greatest movies. Some of them maybe not so great also. But yeah, so let's start today. We have a packed. We have a lot to talk about. There's a lot to discuss, and this subject is close to our hearts because we are both fans of these movies. So today we are going to be talking about the state of comics movies, but we're going to focus post Endgame, right? Because there's a lot of movies, and Endgame, we both think that Endgame is like the division to what was like maybe the golden age of comic movies, right? Since Iron Man 1 until Endgame, I think was like the best period of movie. Doesn't mean that it was all perfect, but it was like the golden age of comic movies. And now we are in the post Endgame era, right? And we're not only gonna talk Marvel, we're gonna also talk a little bit about DC. But obviously, Marvel is like the biggest franchise in the comic book um, genre, so that's gonna be part of our focus today. So let's get started with the subject, right? Let's get started with post end game, right? So let me talk a little bit just to get some context as usual. What were the movies post end game? So in the MCU we have what they call phase 4, right? In movies, Black Adam, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. In DC, we have Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 1984, Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Suicide Squad, The Batman, Black Adam, right? And Sony also has like some movies, more views, but no one cares, so we're not gonna care either. So that's it, right? Those are like the comic movies that came after Endgame. Okay, so Steve, let's start with you, my man. Give us your good, your bad, and your ugly of the post Endgame era.
Yeah. Okay. So at least, well, the good is something. It, for me, the good movie here for me, and it's not like the perfect movie. It was the one that at least didn't suck or got me by surprise because okay, I wasn't expecting to be that good, but for me a big surprise of this post game era we're talking about, it was a DC movie and I didn't expect it to be this good or funny or so, I don't know, different from what I used to, especially with the first movie that the one with Will Smith as Deadshot. That movie was different, but it wasn't good. But the
Mm-hmm.
second part, the Suicide Squad, the
Yes.
2021 movie, I
Yeah.
really, really, really like the movie because they really embrace the madness of the characters. Because why? You have this group of psychos that these no fits that they don't get to live in the society because they work outside of it by, I don't know, getting rid of people, bad, good, or whatever they do. They just do it because they want to
Hmm.
and they can. And you got John Cena doing the peacemaker role.
It's the best. It's the
Yeah,
best.
amazingly because like I'm freedom. I'm protecting our country, no matter what I do or no matter how many heads I blew up. Uh, and we also have Idris Elba. I can't remember.
It
He
was
was
Deadshot.
he
He
was
was like,
basically Deadshot.
yeah, he
He
was like the version of Deadshot. Yeah.
yeah, he was a rebranded Deadshot because maybe Will Smith was too busy or too expensive. I don't know. And well, obviously you have Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, amazing role. She really sells the Harley Quinn act. I really like her as that character, and
She does. She's a great actress, also.
yeah, she is indeed. And you also have Sylvester Stallone doing a shark voice for whatever reason because why
The
not
cat.
call that
Because the
guy?
cat. Yeah.
And other great characters there. Some of them get out of the movie really fast. I was kind of they got me off guard with them. Like Captain Boomerang from the first movie, they just get rid of him in like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, and among other things. But it was a movie that we're gonna do this. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be we're gonna have violence, no matter if you like it or not, because how can we not? I mean, you have these misfits, I keep saying that, of society. So what they do, they kill people. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's a
But
fun movie, right?
yeah,
It's not pretentious. It's not trying to be anything else that it is. It's just a fun, silly movie, if you like. If maybe
mhm,
someone doesn't like that type of comedy, but I think James Gunn did a great job with characters that he presented. He developed those characters and he developed a silly story. It's a silly story, right? But it's a story close to the comics, close to the heart of these characters, and it was fun. I agree with you with this pick. It was a great movie in this new era, right? So I think it's overall great, right? I don't think there are many critiques that or points that you can make against this, other than maybe you don't someone doesn't like that type of comedy, which is okay. It's comedy, right? And maybe you like it, that, or maybe you don't. But it was sound. It was a sound movie, in my opinion. Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so what you got for what was your best, in your case, your best movie at least?
In my mind, it's the Batman 2022. So it's odd because this was a movie that came out and everyone was suspicious because of the cast of Batman, right? um, and people were thinking, okay, that he is already known for a character, right? Robert Pattinson is already known for a character. He's a skinny dude. How he's gonna pull Batman, right? But I think that one of the strong points of this movie is that it's a different take on Batman. It's an early take on Batman, so he has been doing the Batman thing, Bruce Wayne, for like 2-3 years, something like that. So he's like early on his career. So he's not beefy enough, right? He's not already. He doesn't know anything, everything he needs to know, right? So he's figuring stuff out, and I think that Robert Pattinson was great in that role for that Batman. It was like a noir movie, right? So you felt like you were watching like a detective movie all along. So you were immersed in the movie, and you are seeing Batman being a detective for the first time in any movie, I think, of Batman. And we have plenty of Batman movies, but we have had other types of Batman, like the goth Batman or the martial art Batman, and so on. But this one was like the detective Batman, right? So this one is trying to figure stuff out. He's going against an opponent that it's smarter than he is, and he needs to go beyond, right? And so it's a great story. I think all the characters were very good presented. They had a role, and there is an arc and a progression to Batman's story. There is an arc also to Selina Kyle's story, and they present them both very well, very good done. I think it's one of the best villains in this post Endgame era. The this villain is just amazing, right? The riddle is just very well done. It's a different riddle than that we had with Jim Carrey. It's a more serious, but at the same time, very smart, driven character. He has a point he wants to make. He wants to reveal and punish people and reveal what they do not know, but he knows, right? So it's very well done. And we have characters like the Penguin, man. This is amazing point, right? You have a Penguin that you don't recognize the character, the actor, right? If you see the Penguin, you don't think it's Colin Farrell, right? You don't think he is, but but when when you see him performing, you just can't, you just think of the Penguin all the time, because he's a different person, not only in the physique but also like in everything he's doing, right? The accent he's doing, like the way he's saying his lines, like the posture. No, I mean, he stole the show in a movie that already has great characters: Batman, Selina Kyle, a great Gordon, a great Alfred. You have great characters and great actors all over the place, which is amazing. And then you have like, for me, like a perfect Penguin out of nowhere. I didn't expect that, so that's why I give it A+ in my book. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a movie that took everyone by surprise, especially with the performance of Robert Pattinson, also Colin Farrell. As you say, they he really sells the character to that point that you barely you totally you totally forget that it's Colin Farrell, because you usually tend to see him, okay, he's Colin Farrell, whatever, but you just, with all those prosthetics, all that
Yeah.
makeup, with all that extra, I don't know, meat you want to call it, you cannot think of him. But that doesn't matter, because what he's doing is playing a role, and he sells it, and that's what is the most important for as an actor.
Yeah, he's acting, right? Because
Eh, that's
Colin
acting.
Farrell is a handsome dude, right?
Mm,
It's not secret to anyone, but they took like this amazing risk of, okay, let's bring a handsome dude and just cover his face and make him ugly, okay? And we don't care, because he's gonna perform and he's gonna kill it, because we're selling his acting abilities, and they sold them, and it was amazing. It was great.
yeah,
Yeah,
and not many actors are willing to go through that, because many of them will say, like, they people won't know who
that's me.
that's
Yeah.
me, and how can I promote myself, or how
The
can they
ego,
remember
right?
me? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That happened with a really old movie, B for Vendetta. Many actors didn't took the role because you never see the face of the character. But Hugo Weaving, Elrond, the guy from Lord of the Rings, if you need more context,
Agent
or
Smith,
Agent Smith from The Matrix,
one
he
of the
said,
greatest actors of our era, man.
yeah, he said, I don't care, give me a role, and he kills it in that movie. And you never, if you don't know it's him, most likely you don't won't recognize him. So that's what a great actor can do.
And the great thing is that in that movie V of Vendetta, you don't need to know it's him, right? Just as in the Penguin, you don't need to know it's Colin Farrell, because you are so into this character, and you're almost rooting for the Penguin at times, that you don't care if it's Colin Farrell or if it's yourself. It's not. It doesn't matter. It's just the Penguin, right? It's great, great one.
Exactly.
Now give me the bad.
The bad for me. I mean, that's it. That was a no-brainer for me, because we were trying to focus on, especially the main point here is post Endgame, Avengers Endgame. Why that movie? Because it was the culmination of man, a trip. What like something
Two
15-year
decades.
trip?
So yeah,
Yeah,
almost 2 decades. Yeah.
almost 20 years. So how can what can you do after that? So they did something really bad that it didn't make any sense at all for me at least. It was releasing Black Widow after the character, and spoilers here, but I don't think it's a spoiler. Um, what happens to Black Widow in Endgame by the end of Endgame? I think she's no longer there. So
We all know she died, right? She died.
something gives me that vibe. I don't know, but uh, for whatever reason, someone says, "Oh, since we already killed the character, let's make a movie about it." And it's not obviously not something after the Endgame because she's dead. It's a
Hmm.
prequel, and nobody cares by that point. Why? Why did you have to waste so much time to release this movie after the character is already dead? That, and even worse is like you didn't take she was she was a beloved character. Well, at least that's the vibe I think.
No, for
Uh,
me, she is. I think she is a beloved character. Yeah.
she Scarlett sold the character. She did an amazing job. Like this femme fatale that obviously is not the strongest, but she uses her femininity, her sensuality to get rid of the to get the job done. Um, so why wait until you kill them to get the most out of it? And you make that movie, and to top it all off, it's not the best movie. It's just a lame movie. It's just like it was like it was. I don't know. I didn't like it at all. I was bored half of the movie. I was like, okay, How is this crap going to end if I already know the outcome? And this is not the best timing to release that. I mean, she already moved on from the role. She does a good job in the movie, but you can tell by her attitude, or I don't know, her acting, or however you want to call it, that she's already like, okay, so I'm here because I got a contract, I don't know, so let's get this done. They introduce this new and obviously better Black Widow that is her younger sister, if I remember
Is she
correctly.
better? I didn't get that vibe. She's
Well,
worse.
I don't know. She's like, okay, she's the new one, so she's younger.
She's the new one. Yeah, she's the
Yeah.
replacement.
So and and keep this in mind. New is always better according to these writers, and so just keep that with a
I
grain
don't
of
know.
salt.
I don't know. I don't know. So for me, Black Widow um, was a bad action movie because it was an action movie. If you have
Mm.
like a genre, it's an action movie and it had bad CGI. Right. This is
Oh yeah.
2021, so COVID already was affecting some of the post production things. So bad CGI, bad third act of the movie. I think the first two acts were okay, were nothing. But one of the points you make that I think it's very true and it's the main point. It's is the timing, right? Why release this movie after Endgame when the character is already dead, and when and most likely the actress is gonna move from this job, right? And the answer is just because they felt like they needed to do it. They needed to do like a female led movie, and this was something that fans were asking like through all phase one, phase two, and phase three to have a Black Widow movie. Everyone wanted it, like in the first phase when they were introducing characters. They didn't get it. Everyone wanted it in the second phase. They didn't get it. Third phase, the same thing. So I think like they thought like, okay, we need another female led movie. We only have Captain Marvel, and that sucked. So let's do it because Wonder Woman was doing great. Everybody loved Wonder Woman, the first movie. I loved the second one too, but that's another thing. And so they just wanted to complete a checklist, right? Okay, we need just we owe this to the fans. We owe this to Scarlett, and we owe this, and let's just do it, right? And it was also a problem with the money, because this was COVID hit, and so they released it sooner than expected into Disney Plus, and it wasn't clear if how Disney was gonna share the revenue with Scarlett Johansson in Disney Plus. So it was a mess also in that sense. I think that if they took this character and then they did it in phase 2 or phase 1, a Black Widow movie, even with, I don't know, with the Russia stuff or something like that, it could have been better, right? It could have maybe tied into something that they were building, or just presenting Taskmaster in the universe. But they also screwed that in the 2021, right? Taskmaster is one of the, I think, coolest villain. It's not the greatest. It's not the toughest one, but it's a cool villain to have in the MCU, just to pop it when you need it. And I don't mind Taskmaster being a woman. I just thought that they could have done something better with Taskmaster. I don't know
Okay,
why.
this is how bad this movie was. This is how bad this movie was. The villain, the plot of the movie is so forgettable. I totally forgot they got Taskmaster in it. And they make it a woman, and they
Yeah.
make it this CGI buff girl out of nowhere, because you take the character and see it with, before they show the face of the character, it looks
Mm-hmm.
bigger, it looks stronger. But as soon as they show the face, they can't sell it off anymore, because you got this huge bulk of a guy try to be, just big, imposing, menacing, because that's Master, trying to get rid of everyone by learning their own techniques and using them on the fly against its opponent. But I totally forgot.
Yeah, you can forget it. It's easy to forget. It's easy to forget that you had Taskmaster, even though it's one of the coolest characters. But it wasn't the main villain, Taskmaster. It was the I don't know who was the
The
lady that.
guy. No, it
Yeah,
was the guy,
the guy that was behind like the
the
red
Black Widow
room.
program.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah, and she was just another weapon. But one positive thing, if you will, I think, and you mentioned it, but I don't think you will agree with this. But I think the new Black Widow, if you like to say that, Yelena Belova, it's the character's name. It's Florence Pugh. I think it's a good thing to have a great actress as Florence Pugh. I think she's a good actress, and I saw her in the series of Hawkeye series, and she's good. She's good. She's not better in that series than Black Widow. She's learning stuff, but I think it's just good to have her like in the back in case you need a good actress to perform. So I enjoyed her, Florence Pugh, in the movie. Also, I enjoyed Scarlett Johansson because she's great in everything she does, even though this was like her goodbye movie, supposedly, because now there are some talks that she's gonna retake the Black Widow movie in some way, shape, or form in the coming movies. I think it's gonna be like a flashback or something like that, or I don't know what they're gonna do, but there are some talks and news this week. But yeah, other than Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson, I think this movie is forgettable, and it's poorly timed and completely unnecessary at that point, 2021. Okay, my turn. My turn with the bad. So my bad was a movie that is not just that it's bad, it's mediocre for me. It's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And let me explain why. You start this movie, right? This is a new character, and they are introducing a new character the right way. And I mean by that they are doing it, taking their time in their solo movie, trying to present it, trying to sell it, and then if they sell it, they will plug it in another movie, right? So that's how they did Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. Just have a single movie, try to sell the character, and then move on, right? So they are doing that. They are presenting him, and through the first and second act of the movie, you get a fighting movie, right? You get like a Bruce Lee, like a Jackie Chan type of movie, right? A lot of martial arts going on, and good, very good done, because the actor is actually he's doing this stuff because he knows he practiced um, uh, karate or whatever he practices, so he can fight, the actor. But then in the third act, they completely flip the script. It looks like the two first acts it's done by some writer, and the third act is done by like a 5 year old kid, toddler, right? Because it's just another movie. If you just start the movie at the end, you think this is a completely different movie. Why? Because instead of finishing like a martial art movie, right, with when you face the bad guy and you just punch the hell out of him and you just kick yourself and kick, and like a showdown between Bruce Lee and the other guy, right? Like that type of movie, like where you finish with the fight that you were waiting for, and let's see how those two guys or just punch the hell out of each other. You don't get that. So they are selling you through the first two acts, and the first two acts are good, but in the third act, where you are waiting for that payoff to see like this amazing martial art scene and ending, and they just replace it with a generic CGI monster trying to fight with a monster and magic rings shooting beams and stuff like that. Like, it's completely generic. You don't have that in all of the movie, but for some reason in the last, I don't know, half an hour, they pop out of nowhere magic beings and dragons and stuff like that, and instead of fighting like martial artists like they have done the entire movie, they start shooting beams and doing magical stuff. So it's I think it's just a waste of an opportunity, because I thought that the character and the actor was very good cast, because he can fight. This guy can fight. He can perform all these scenes, and he sells the character of Shang-Chi. The first two acts are very good, but then the third act is just a complete mess. So that's why I have it here on the bad. It's a missed opportunity in terms of Shang-Chi.
Okay, good. I cannot say much about the movie. I wish I had the time to see everything I want, or everything needed to cover all the topics, all the movies, all the media. Uh, all I can say about the movie is that it didn't capture my attention, and because I, until this point, things, or at least my perception of Marvel is not the same as it used to be. So I'm really like, I think it twice before uh, putting my time into something that doesn't gets it done to me, at least. So okay, fair enough. But
But I think that's a general point, and I think you should try it. And I think I know you, and I know that this is very tough for you, because when you have an idea, it's difficult for you to take it out. But you should try to watch this movie like separate movies, like individual movies, and without expectations. I think
yeah, totally.
be- because post Endgame, you need to reset your mind, and you just say, okay, Endgame didn't happen, all that Infinity Saga didn't happen, this is a new MCU. Let's see, and let's judge it by today's standards. And you will find that by today's standards, some things are bad because they are poorly written, or they have a bad ending, like Shang-Chi is a great movie, two-thirds, right? If you take the two-thirds of this movie, it's a great movie. It's funny, and it has great characters, great writing, great fighting scenes. But then when they go into the third act, is when it goes down. So yeah, give it a try. Even though I am putting this as the bad, I think you should see it. It's in Disney Plus, it's whatever, and you just see it in the background, and I think you will enjoy the two-thirds. And one thing I have thought about this a lot, and it's that after Endgame, we are expecting everything to be or interconnected or to be really great and epic, like everything is out of proportions and it's blown out, its cosmic event is shape shift, is gonna shape the earth completely. No, and some of these movies, like for example the Suicide Squad, it doesn't need to be right. So
Exactly.
and that's the same for Marvel. I give Marvel like the same treatment I give DC, in the sense of DC didn't have an end game, so I don't judge DC by an end game like status, right? And I judge Marvel new movies the same. Like, okay, you didn't have an end game. You are a new, completely brand. Show me what you got, right? And in this case, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, for me, it was a missed opportunity because they did a great job to two-thirds of the movie.
Yeah, and fair enough. I gotta do a lot of catch up because there are a lot of media that's been thrown out there that I haven't given the opportunity because of the noise I keep
Story,
hearing.
yeah.
Yeah, of the noise. But I think as a whole, in order to appreciate the better things or to actually recognize what is good, you have to put yourself in front of the bad as well.
Yeah, and you need to also, because there's a lot of going on in the internet, you need to experience it for yourself and judge it for yourself, because sometimes you hear reviews from other people and those people are biased and they are bringing your bias into you, right? And some things they may say are right. Sometimes they are just exaggerating things, right? For example, for Shang-Chi, they say no, this is just pandering to Asians, Asians audiences. I didn't feel like that, because I enjoy it. Doesn't You don't have to be Asian to enjoy a martial art movies, right? And we have been watching martial art movies since forever, right? We have all seen Bruce Lee. We have all seen Jackie Chan movies. We have seen Van Damme doing his thing. We have seen many other Western actors doing also martial art movies, and we all enjoy them, right? Right. So it's a little bit hypocritical to say that MCU is pandering to Asian just because they are doing an Asian. Just judge it for what it is, right? If they are doing like serious pandering within the movie, like, I don't know, dressing like a panda, or I don't know, whatever, then you can say, okay, this is trying to pander into to Asian audiences. But the reality is that it's just a martial arts movie with some comedy, right? With Aquafina, and she was good at it. And then in the third part of the movie, you are expecting another art like fight, and you don't get it, and that's too bad. That's too bad for me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Let's
Got it.
let's move. Let's
Fair
move to
enough.
the ugly.
The
Give me the
ugly.
ugly, man.
The ugly. Ugly. It was the ugly and the disappointing, I guess, because Thor: Love and Thunder.
I knew it.
It was such a. I knew before watching this movie, and this is the thing. You see, this was one of the movies that I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't only knew. I heard from everyone. Yeah, and you
But
mentioned it.
that's already going with a predisposition. This is going to be bad. You cannot
No,
do that.
but I was thinking that it was going to be bad without anyone saying anything to me. I was like,
Why? Why you haven't?
because I watched the trailer. I was like,
But you didn't saw the movie. You didn't
yeah,
saw the movie.
but well, in spite of all that, I saw the movie,
Okay.
and and it was so bad. It was even
It
if
wasn't that
no,
bad.
if I could think of the worst case scenario, this will give it to me times 10. And it was so the humor was bad, the jokes weren't landing, or I don't know, or at least they were trying to make so many jokes at the same time that it didn't make any sense. Um, but they also took this Thor character that I don't know. It was supposed to be one of those. Yeah, Thor. They always joke around with Thor because he is too over his head. He doesn't take things for what they are. He just takes things too seriously, and that's the funny thing about it. And looking back at the first Thor movie, when you have pretty much the 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 hero's journey where he's powerful, but he takes his power is taken away by Anthony Hawkins, and
Mm-hmm.
he has to learn humility in order to regain his power. But
Yeah.
it's not easy for him because he's in a strange world trying to figure things out, like why do they do this, why they don't they are not proud like me, why they aren't strong like me. But he learns, and
Yeah.
through that you get a feeling of, okay, I'm getting to know this guy, and he's cool, and he okay, he comes from a bad place, but now he has good intentions, and now he has earned his his all his bravado, all his power, all his might. And yeah, Thor 2 was bad. Nobody remembers that movie. I can barely remember myself.
Yeah,
Um,
I do remember it. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it was it was okay.
If you judge Thor 2 by today's standards, you would say that it's the worst movie. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it was okay. And then you got Thor Ragnarok, was the name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, yeah, the Thor Ragnarok. Yeah,
Thor Ragnarok, is that the third movie? They they went with a funny note on it, but uh, it has great fights on it with Thor and Hulk, but it also has such an amazing little humor, but it lands so well with Thor going back to Asgard and finding out that Loki is Odin, pretending to be his father and telling everyone how Loki was their true savior of all. And yeah, it's funny. It has Matt Damon on it. That I don't know why, but he shows up there, and but it's good. And then it has this moment that is so good, and I really love it, and that sold the movie for me, was when Odin has says his goodbye, saying like, okay, you have the power in you to be even better. You just have to control it and all that, and it's kind of sad, and it's Anthony Hawkins, and he's such an amazing actor, but okay, he has to go, and they did it respectfully and all. But then you got this movie when everything is a joke, everything, and and I'm forgetting the name of the actress. How?
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman, and Natalie Portman is there, and but she's even better Thor than Thor.
No,
And
I'm
no,
sorry, man.
yeah,
No,
she
no,
is.
but I need to break this shell because you and I watch a guide. It's called the Neurotic, and for him, and I think this is the same for you. I think he has imprinted a bias in you.
No,
This
no,
movie,
I
no,
started watching that guy recently. That doesn't
no,
matter.
this movie is not about a female Thor being better than Thor. This movie is about Natalie Portman characters dying and Thor saving her because she is not worthy by her own. I don't know if you didn't saw the movie because you were so hung up on hating this movie, but she gets the hammer because Thor said to the hammer a long time ago, protect her, and she is only being saved because of the magic of Thor and the hammer. It's not like Captain America. Captain America picked up the hammer because he was worthy. He was worthy of the power of Thor. But Natalie Portman didn't, and she died. She
No, no, no.
died
So you're
in the
telling me
movie. She
that
died because she realized that she couldn't keep holding the hammer because he was also killing her. She's not worthy. She's not a better Thor. She was learning to be
no,
Thor.
She was definitely a better Thor, and now you're
Why?
telling me, and now you're telling
She
me,
okay. Let's judge this fairly. Did she had the power of thunder? Did she like
she
no,
did, she
no,
did.
she didn't. She didn't. She
She
had the
summoned
power
thunder.
of no. She had the power of the hammer, but she couldn't summon thunder like Thor could summon thunder without the power without the hammer. You remember the hammer got crashed, and
Yeah, but
in Ragnarok he learned how to use the thunder without the hammer. Because you remember the line, right? You are not the god of hammers, you are the god of thunder. Use the thunder, not the hammer.
exactly.
Natalie Portman only had the hammer. She didn't have the thunder. So she's not a better Thor in any way, shape, or form because she has no thunder in her. She has a hammer who channels some power. But Thor can use the hammer and
Okay,
can use the
okay,
thunder without any weapon.
okay,
Do you
okay.
agree with that?
Yeah, but wait,
Okay,
wait,
so
no,
she's not better. Why is she better? Tell me
because
why.
she
Why?
gets her power from someone that just okay give power to her. That doesn't make any sense. No, that
That makes
doesn't.
it. Yeah.
No,
Okay. Maybe it doesn't make sense.
that
That's
doesn't
your
make
opinion.
that was
But why is better? Why
Deus
does
ex
it better?
machina. That's such Deus ex machina because if you put it like that,
Tell me.
she could said before that movie like give power to all the Avengers to use you when I'm not conscious enough to
But she
do
did it.
whatever with it. This is
But from the first movie, we have like the first Thor movie. We have established that they have that magic in them to command. Anthony Hopkins said the same thing. Only when he has the humility, give him back his power and the power of holding this hammer. And Thor did it again when he was powerful enough, when he was fully a god of thunder. He did it. He did the same thing that his father did for him. He did it for Natalie Portman because he loved her, and he loved her very much. And he said, "Okay, protect her." That was a spell, if you will. It's a magic spell that they do in Asgard. They have been doing it from the first movie. And okay, maybe it doesn't make sense. That's your opinion. But why is it that better? Why is it better
it's
to
not,
have no? Let me finish. Why is it better to have power given to me than having it on my own? So let me say that again. If I go to your house and I give you $100, is it better that I give you $100 or is it better that I have enough money to give you $100? It's better to have enough money to give you 100. I'm just
it's
giving
better
you
that I earned the 100.
no, but I have more. So exactly, that's my point. Thor has so much power that he's giving someone like okay, here's some cash. Take that power. Protect her. It's not that Natalie Portman is better. Thor is lending her power, and at the end of the movie, she's resigning it because she has to die, and she dies. So I don't buy this bullshit about Natalie Portman's Thor being better. This Thor is not better. She didn't earn the power, therefore she is not better. She was lended the power and then she returned it back. That's all there is. She's not better at fighting with the hammer. She doesn't have the power of Thor of the thunder as without the hammer. So she's not better. Maybe it doesn't make sense, if you will, but it's not better. So I don't buy like okay, she's better, that's why I don't like it. No, you didn't like it because you didn't want to watch a female version of Thor. That's why, and that's okay. That's okay. If you didn't want to watch a female version, that's okay. That's your decision. But she's not better. Don't sell the lie that she was better.
I might don't buy the sell point of a she Thor, but you like Natalie Portman too much as well to not like her.
No, I love Natalie Portman and she did a great job. And the character dies. And now to be objective, I didn't thought that this movie was perfect in any shape or form. I knew exactly what kind of movie I was gonna get when I decided to watch it. This was gonna be like a silly a silly movie. I know the director, right? This is a Taika Waititi movie. I thought it from the first time. This is gonna be like Thor Ragnarok with a lot of jokes, even more. Yeah, I grant you that, even more jokes. And this is going to be a Taika Waititi movie. But I didn't mind the from the beginning. I didn't mind the female version of Thor. So when I was presented it, I understood what they were doing, and she wasn't better, she wasn't stronger, whatever. But what I did mind from this movie was the ending, and this is a recurrent problem for me in the MCU. The ending was horrible. I don't
In what way?
I don't know why. Okay, Natalie Portman had to die. That's okay. Let before I go to the ending. The villain was amazing, and this is
Yeah.
so overlooked because everyone is so hung up like you are with Natalie Portman or whatever. But we don't deserve Christian Bale as an actor.
Yeah, no.
He killed it. And some people, I see some people on the internet like critiquing like the way they did the character. He looks like Uncle Fester. I don't care if he looks like Uncle Fester. I just care that he killed everything that when he was on the screen, he was such a compelling character, driven by pain, driven by sadness, revenge, and you could see all of those things just going through this character all the way, right? He really hated all these gods that he thought that they were not helping and people, and it was amazing. But then in the third act, it ends with this, I don't know, heavenly like
Oh.
scene
Mm.
where Thor ends up with a kid. That's when I was thrown out, right? I was completely thrown out of the movie when now all of a sudden the future for Thor is being a parent to a kid that it's not his own, and now the
Yeah.
kid is gonna has maybe have powers because of I don't know. I didn't get that. I didn't get what they were doing. I think this was someone from Disney, from Marvel Studios, going down and trying to set up some stuff in the future that will not happen because already already Hemsworth has says Chris Hemsworth has said that he's not coming back unless they have a different shift or like a different take on this character. So
Yeah,
if
he says himself he's not sure they're gonna call him again. He's not 100% sure.
and you cannot do another Thor movie without Chris Hemsworth if Chris
Uh,
Hemsworth is
s-
alive and young. So that's done. But I don't get that ending, right? I don't get that ending. So if you have done if the same movie, but with a different ending, I would say this is an okay movie, and that's it. It's a okay movie. Is it, okay? I understand the comedy point. That is too much comedy. And as I said in the Suicide Squads, I will say it again. It's a matter of choice in your comedy. Sometimes you get that comedy. My wife and I, we enjoyed that type of comedy. We enjoyed like the recurring joke of the goat screaming, stuff like that, because it was a silly movie. This is a silly movie, just a comedy silly movie, right? Just like the Suicide Squad, but with Thor. And maybe that's what some people don't like. Like, okay, I wanted Thor to be more. But and I can grant that point. Like maybe it was too much of a comedy movie, of a silly comedy movie, and you were expecting other things. But for me, the worst part was the ending, and the future for that character is completely out of the scope of possibilities now, because of the ending. Okay, a better ending, maybe we could have had Chris Hemsworth as Thor in another movie, but now with this ending and with the future that this character has, it's difficult. Woo! That was heated, man. That was heated. Let's move to my ugly one. My ugly one, it's just a slow, boring movie. It's The Eternals. There's no much more to say about this movie, other than it's too long, it's too slow, nothing really happens, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because you have these all powerful beings living on the earth, and they just witness all that happened with Thanos, and they just didn't do anything because reasons they don't want to interfere, or whatever, but they do interfere. So it doesn't make sense. There are too many characters on the screen, and so some of them are really forgettable. So you cannot appreciate like the cool ones, right? There are some cool characters and there are some not so cool characters. If you ask me right now what is the villain of this movie, I cannot tell you what's the villain. Not even if it's a bet, not even to save my life, I can't remember what's the villain. I know that
It's a
are some
forgettable movie.
CGI
It's a
movies,
forgettable movie.
completely forgettable, completely slow movie. I don't mind the tone, like the dark tone that they were going in Eternals. It's okay. I like dark comic movies, but it was just too slow, and nothing really happened. And I think that's why it's just a waste of time. I think you can just skip that one, and I think you're gonna be good with the MCU. So yeah, I'm gonna just leave it like that. I'm not gonna spend. Do you have any comments on the?
That's one of the movies that I haven't watched yet, and again, not because I heard anything, it's because I watched the trailer and like doesn't make any sense. Why are they keep throwing these movies as the same as Black Widow from events of the past to just try to get more characters involved in a narrative that already ended,
Mm-hmm.
and you are like, why? And if we already know what happened, and it makes and it's funny because it makes the characters like assholes if you think about it, because you know they were there and they didn't do anything,
They
and
didn't do
you're
anything.
like, eh, why?
Half of the universe died, man.
And
Half
they're
of
there.
the universe, not only Earth, the universe died, and they were eating and making jokes.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't want to know about those guys. They seem like assholes.
No, yeah, they try to explain. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, let's move on, man. A lot to talk about. I wanted to do something really quick with you, and it's go through crunching the numbers, man. I am a geek, and this is going to be the financial chapter of this podcast. So
This is Livardo wants to do charts.
I wanted to do charts. I love charts. Hashtag charts. So let's crunch the numbers, man.
Okay, let's
So
watch again.
we are in an era where you can find numbers for everything, and that's great. So I went and I did some homework, and I pulled the box office for Phase 4 MCU. And let's try to figure out what really is happening in the MCU. Are they thriving? Are they dying? What's going on, right?
Yeah,
So this
quick,
is
quick, quick note. Just Phase 4 is post Endgame.
post Endgame,
Uh huh.
correct. So this is from Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor, Love and Thunder. Let me ask you a question, Steve. Do you consider Spider-Man No Way Home as a part of the MCU?
That's a weird question in a way that you could argue it is, because he was in the Avengers, he was in all those movies, he was in Endgame, but it was a character introduced like, okay, here's Spider-Man, and that's it, and that was pretty much it. And then the movie came out talking about Spider-Man and all that. Uh, but No Way Home, if you take Doctor Strange out of the movie, and I know Doctor Strange is the one that sets the movie going because he's the one that
Screws ups.
screws everything up. But
Yeah.
you could make a movie without Doctor Strange or just any other character, but with some kind of the same ability as him, and you can have a good standalone movie without, and it won't feel like one of the Marvel movies. So Spider-Man is in that weird limbo that
For yeah. For me,
It's
it's Sony, right? Don't you
yeah,
think?
it's like a yeah, it's a movie that doesn't feel like a 100% Marvel property yet.
Yeah, I agree. So when I was crunching the numbers and I saw Spider-Man No Way Home part of the Phase 4, I understand because they are talking about the multiverse and this new saga. Like we had the Infinity Saga, this new saga, it's called the Multiverse Saga. And I understand because they are talking about the multiverse with Spider-Man and we get the other two Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. But for me, Spider-Man doesn't feel like part of the MCU. It's like a alone. It's they are sharing this character, and the decisions are not only done by Feige. It's a collaborative effort with Sony Studios. So it's weird, right? And it's a property, especially in this movie, the Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie is pulling from Sony's property more than it's pulling from Marvel's MCU property, right? You only have here the Doctor Strange, but you have other two Spider-Mans from Sony's universe. So for me, it's more like a Sony movie. And when you analyze this chart and you see, okay, clearly Spider-Man is the highest grossing movie of all of them by far, right? It's almost closing the 2 billions dollars worldwide. That's the gray bar that you see here. The orange bar is only US, and the blue bar it's the budget of the movie, right? Just to have a comparison of what they are making in terms of movie or money. Obviously, there is a lot of spending going on in marketing. It's almost the same amount of the budget they use in marketing, but you see how great it did, right? Spider-Man No Way Home compared to the other movies, right? So if you take Spider-Man No Way Home out, you would have to say that the Phase 4 was a complete mess, right? Especially if you see Black Widow, for example, how much it did worldwide, it's not worth the budget. Shang-Chi, the same thing. Eternals, almost the same thing. Doctor Strange and did a little bit better, right? In
Mm.
terms of it, almost $1 billion worldwide. And Thor: Love and Thunder, it didn't make what they were expecting, right? This is Chris Hemsworth. This is a franchise character, like established character. So they were hoping to see close to a 1 billion or even more. So this was, I think, like a failure to them in terms of numbers, just in terms of numbers. But what's really pulling the numbers, what's really paying the bills right now, or at least for Phase 4, it was Spider-Man, which is telling because Spider-Man, again, it's not only Marvel, it's Sony. So their movies, original movies, they are not doing very good.
No,
And
they start, I guess, with high expectations, at least from the studio,
mhm,
but and there are numbers that are really we don't people don't have, like regular people at least don't have access to the marketing numbers. Those tend, as you said, tend to be almost as high as the movie budget because
correct.
marketing is so expensive. People don't realize that,
Mhm.
but it's so expensive that it almost matches the movie budget. So you have to take that into consideration for in order for the movie to profit, which is really really hard because if your movie costs, I don't know, $400 million and your marketing costs 300, then you gotta make at least 700 to break even.
To break
and
even. That's
and
correct.
and that's a lot of money. That's not many movies get to those numbers.
I
So
don't think I don't think Black Widow or Shang-Chi broke even. Especially
no,
Black Widow.
no,
I don't think.
no, because you also have to take into account that we are living in a world that you don't have big markets throwing money to the pool. and I'm talking about China, which is pretty much in a perpetual status of confinement. People are not able to go to the movies there, and no matter how small you think, let's say only 1% of the population of China goes to the movies. But do
It's a
you
lot.
know the population of China? That
Yeah,
1% is a huge number.
it's a huge number. Yeah.
And you also have to take another big country into consideration that is no longer able to get access to this kind of entertainment, even in streaming, in an streaming point of view, and it's Russia. So you
But
have,
Russia, it's more recently, right? It's more
yeah,
2022.
it's more
This is
recently, but moving
2021.
forward, it's gonna get worse.
It's gonna get
It's gonna get
tougher.
even worse
Yeah.
for these movie studios to make money because they have these huge people out of the equation, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, there's something that we have to like mention that to be fair with the
Mm,
numbers, like all these 2021s, these are COVID times, right? So Black
mm,
Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Legend of Ten Rings and Eternals, they are especially hit by also not having all the theaters open,
mm.
by having COVID. We have That's also one of reality, right? So maybe you can explain yourself if you are the studio looking at this number. You can say to yourself, okay, maybe some part of it's COVID, and I think it is maybe a
Mm.
30
You can argue that.
40 yeah, 30-40% of impact coming from COVID. But now when you see Love and Thunder, right, this is
There's no
July,
excuses anymore.
that's more of the number that you might be getting right now, right?
Hmm.
And that's it, right? And then when you compare the worldwide total for by phases, right? Phase one, phase two, phase three. These numbers are all adjusted by inflation, right? To inflation, so they are comparable numbers. You will see that the phase one and the first four are very close, right? Phase one was the building up of the Marvel universe. You are introducing or you are building the franchise. No one knows what's gonna go happen. Phase three, obviously, it's Endgame, it's Infinity Wars, it's Spider-Man, it's Civil War, it's a lot of great movies. So they made almost the same as phase one, adjusted to inflation, right? And when you compare the average per movie, right, you will see that you are making almost the same per movie right now in phase four as you did in phase one, taking into consideration that I am including here Spider-Man. Without the Spider-Man, this phase 4 bar that you
It
are
will
seeing
be
here,
much lower.
it will be much lower than phase 1. So COVID is a thing, but there is something that the numbers are saying to be worried about the future, the financial future of Disney, and Disney is realizing this. That's why they changed the CEO, right? Because Disney Plus is also failing, and we're not gonna cover the series here, but it's going down, and I think the numbers, even with COVID, they are telling us that it's going down, and Marvel is hanging up by a web thread. It's a Spider-Man's web that it's completely right
Carry.
now carrying all the MCU. And we're gonna see what happens right now in phase 5, right? 2023. We're gonna have Ant-Man and Quantumania. It looks good. I am always open-minded to all movies, and the trailer, it looks good. Quantumania. We're gonna have the this year. We're also gonna have the Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3, which it's a franchise that I love. So let's see what happens there, and then we will see if maybe Marvel Phase 5 will be corrected or start correcting the course, or if it's gonna continue downwards, right? So that's what I had here for the crunching the numbers, if you will.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Well, I have to wait a lot because looking at what we recently got, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, and even the numbers are showing that the public is not embracing it as well as the beginning of these uh, multi-million dollar franchises they they start with. So it's a tough they're in a really tough spot because you at least have to make the base you were going with the phase one, and you always gonna have this. Oh, but in phase one we did this, did much better. Phase two wasn't that bad, but then came phase three, and now we have phase four on the same level of phase one, which is
With
uh,
COVID, right? Always have an asterisk of COVID, but yeah, they
yeah,
did.
with COVID taken into the equation, but it's still people are not buying it as much as they did because they keep pouring these shows, these new products in your face, and there's no break between them. When before we had like a little bit of time between each superhero movie, but now we're talking about many movies thrown to the mix one after another. And if it's not a movie, it's a show, and it's a weekly show, and that's more content, and they keep pouring all of this into you without a break. And I think there's people are starting to get a little bit tired of it. They
There is a little bit of tiredness, I think, of the comic movies, especially in the MCU, because in DC there's nothing going on like as much as it's going on in the MCU. So people are getting a little bit tired, and they are choosing where to spend their money. So phase four, with COVID taken into consideration, I would say that uh, it's down from phase three, but phase three was always going to be like the biggest phase of all, just because it was the culmination of the Infinity Saga. I think they were not expecting to make the same amount of money. No one was, as phase three, or have the same type of performance. But the interesting thing is I think it's where you when you see Thor Love and Thunder and Doctor Strange performing okay. It's a lot of money still for the studio, but it's not drawing as much of attention as it used to draw, right? So,
hmm,
and I think that's a good segue to talk into what you have called the checklist, what I call the formula of the comic movies right now, and that I think it's one of the reasons audiences are not so hyped as some of the critics may be, paid critics, in my opinion.
hmm.
But there is certainly a checklist or a formula they are trying to reproduce, if you will, again, the success they had in phase one and phase two. Let's not let's not take into consideration phase three, because that's another thing. But at least to reproduce what they had in phase one and phase two. So, what's the checklist that you see in all these new productions that they are throwing into your face, Steve?
Uh, the checklist for me is like they have to, no matter what, no matter what they do, they have to be inclusive, and that's fine at all and all, but with the excuse that without a character covering certain demographics or some specific politics in view into it, or way of thinking or whatever, the audience cannot relate to that character, and and it's impossible for you to cover everything in every single movie just to cater to all the audience that exists in the world. Uh, before before they did these movies didn't worry about it. They just created a character. If you like it, well, and if you didn't like it, okay, well, we will do another character next time, and that was it. But now they have to be, I don't know. they have to cover all the points just to make sure you don't forget some specific kind of demographic or interest or way of thinking. I don't know. It's just it must be really tiresome for the writers to just make sure everything lines up just to be okay for the movie to go out. And that's impossible. You cannot in any way get something a decent product that covers just marks in a list. And that must getting these people crazy, and you can notice that what they are getting out is just in a way it's more of the same. You
No more
got
of them.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of the same because how can you get something unique, something actually creative when you just have to cover up for all the things that must be in a show, no matter, or a movie, no matter what. It's just, I don't know.
Definitely, there's a lot of inclusion going on right now in the Marvel MCU, and when I say inclusion, it's like an emphasis or a stress on forcing inclusion, right? Like
Hmm.
you said, it the checklist of having a checklist of, okay, we need to have like a strong female lead, but now that's not enough. We need to have it to be black or to be late Latin or to be gay or to be lesbian or to be whatever, and sometimes it feels like that's the most important thing that they are trying to pull. For example, Black Panther, they kept on mentioning the representation, right? It's just another way
Oh,
of saying inclusion.
yeah.
The representation of the Latin villain, or I don't know if it's a villain or not. But it kept on mentioning like the representation. This is a pseudo Latin Aztec guy. I am a Latin person. You are too. I didn't feel represented by that character, and in
And
any
and
shape or
I
way.
don't care, and I don't care to be. I just,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't care also. But for me, the formula also it's about the episodic formula, and I think this is something
Hmm,
that is affecting the writers, but I think it's also something that is affecting in some way the audiences. Is that audiences for almost 2 decades were expecting movies to be like episodes of a series, right? And you felt like you had to watch every episode, every movie, just to know like all the Easter eggs or how everything was interconnected, right? In the MCU, and I think that people got fed up and writers got fed up with that idea that now they feel like everything in the story has to be interconnected, and this is like the
it's crazy.
the worst part for me. Inclusion is forced inclusion is bad for me too, but like the idea of everything having to be meaningful in a longer story. And this is why I argued with you about Wonder Woman 1984, because people and we as audiences also were expecting, in that point of time when Wonder Woman 1984 was released, we were expecting everything to build up just as Endgame was built up. And I don't want that. I want movies to be good by themselves, and then if that ties up into another movie, that's an extra, right? That's like the cherry on the top. But that movie has to be at least good to hold up by itself, right? And with these late endgame movies, right, they are trying or to fill gaps, as you said, right? We are going back to introduce a new character that was around endgame but didn't show up because they were having something else, or whatever, but
I
they
get you.
exist and they were part of that era, and now you will enjoy it because we present it like that. And
Hmm.
they are not taking the time to build new characters as they build the old ones, right? It's a fact. We don't have Robert Downey Jr. We don't have Chris. I forgot the last name.
Evans.
Chris Evans as Captain America. Okay, we don't have Black Widow. That's okay. Build something new. You have the X-Men, you have the Fantastic Four now, you have Spider-Man now, you have other franchises also. Build it from the ground up without having the pressure of having everything interconnected. I don't know why they had to go into Black Panther and present Ironheart like a C character that is just a copy of Shiru. It's already Shiru. If you need a intelligent black woman for the inclusion, you already have her. It's called Shiru. She's intelligent. She's from Wakanda, and she is smart. Then you go and present Ironheart in another movie, very rushed. You don't know why you are rooting for this character other than it was presented fast. The same thing is happening all over. You're trying to present other characters and trying to have them interconnected and then spin off other movies. You are thinking about spin-offs and spin-offs without realizing that the most important thing is the story. Is having a story that is fun, that is whatever you're trying to say it correctly, right? And this is something that Marvel is also now trying to do, is telling, not showing, right? I'm telling you this character matters. I'm telling you this is important, but you are not showing us why it is important. You are not showing us the stakes. You are not showing us what this character is about, right? You are just and DC was also trying to do that because they were copying the Marvel's formula. Is okay, we need to rush into Justice League. We need to rush into whatever, and so we are not taking the time to build up these characters. We're not taking the time to get used to these. That's why Batman 2022 was so good, right? Because they said, okay, this is another thing. This is not part of the DCEU. This is another movie. We're doing our thing in this movie, and the movie was great. It was great. I don't care how much money it did. It did good box office, but it was great all over the place because you are not trying to build anything up from there other than the characters that are in that movie. If you take the time to build your characters in that movie, that's all we need.
Yeah,
So for me, that's
they keep,
bro.
yeah, totally, and they keep forgetting the basic principle about movies is that they just have to be fun. They just have to be enjoyable. You don't have to be worrying about all being connected in every single way, like you mentioned, in every possible angle, in every possible demographic, and every possible, however you want to put it. You just have to make a good movie and a good story. And if you do that, people will come to you. Look at what happened with uh, Top Gun Maverick.
Hmm.
This was a remake of I don't know, 20, 30-year old movie. I
Something like
didn't
that.
I didn't watch the original at all. I don't know anything about. I know what everyone whatever everyone knows about the original, but I came to the second movie and I enjoyed it so much without the need of just knowing from the other that. And why? Because it was a good movie. It was a good story. It had good action. It was well directed. It was well shot. It was it was good in every single way. But I didn't feel the need, or I didn't need it to know anything else because it was good.
Yeah,
And
and I think that's the important thing, right? Have a
mhm,
good story. You said it.
exactly.
It was fun. It was a good story, and good action, and that's what we need. That was Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1 was a fun movie, well directed, with good character and good story. That's what we liked of Civil War. That's what we liked of Winter Soldier, for example. It was a great movie, action movie. It was a great movie, and then you maybe tied up with post-credit scenes or stuff like that, or minor characters showing up here and there, but not having like the whole uh, story being driven by having to interconnect all of these movies. Okay, so I think that's um, the end of today's show, and I think that's what we wanted to cover, right, with the movies. Let's see what happened in 2023 with the new phase, and with Quantum Mania. I'm looking forward to Quantum Mania. I have to say it. They look good. I always judge each movie individually, no matter what they have done in the past. So let's see what happened, and what this new movie brings. But okay, thank you for listening. Please subscribe to YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. No, on Facebook, no, we don't have Facebook. So follow us in Twitter. Follow us on Instagram at OnlyFillers, and that's it. Any closing remarks?
Yeah. So please make your sure to make your comments. Don't forget to subscribe. You will also be able to listen to this episode on Spotify if you prefer audio. So there will be a link when the episode is updated down below on the box, so don't worry about it. We're gonna hear a lot about our editor about this because it was supposed to be shorter, but it wasn't. And as always, saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a good time. See you soon, and take care, everyone.
Peace.